Waiting. There we go.
There we go. Hello, Michael.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
I've got some new windows over here. Let's see if I can pop this up. Okay, let's keep talking now.
New windows as in like windows on your computer, or windows appeared magically in your house?
I wish. I'm in the basement. So if I get windows magically appearing in my house, that would be a pretty neat trick.
I know. I had this dream last night that like I was able to cut out giant windows in my dance studio. So there's already like big windows in my dance studio, but there was even more windows. And I woke up very happy and then very distressed when I went out and realized that it wasn't actually true. So that was sad.
Yeah.
So, I know.
Let's go back to sleep and call it good. How about that?
Yeah, I know. This weekend I was having really, really weird dreams. And yeah, ones where I woke up like feeling absolutely sick to my stomach about stuff that was happening. And it took like half the day to work it out of my system. I'd like to figure out how to get that moving faster. But anyway. So what are you drinking today?
Yeah, I hear you. Were you having like weird dreams about like all of the COVID stuff or?
No, but I'm sure it's the COVID stuff like making my mind go a little bit quirky. So
it doesn't help when we're kind of quirky to start with either.
No. But that's okay.
If it makes you feel any better, I had like a really shitty kind of going into the weekend too. So yeah, I get it. The mind starts like spin and find its thing and like grab onto it and not want to let go. Yeah. So I totally get it. I mean, I've shared a little bit here. I mean, everything that was going on with my parents, for example, they're now transferred to a new boat and they've got let through the Panama Canal. They're on their way to Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
They were actually on the news yesterday.
Oh,
they
wow.
ran a story on them on Global.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been getting all these text messages like, I saw your parents. I hope everything is doing okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're doing well. They're healthy. Everything is fantastic. But between that and then a friend going back to work in the ICU and just everything, and we talked about this on Friday. Friday night, my kids and I, so here's something cool. My family loves doing outdoor things. And some of my kids, because it was so warm on Friday, like, Dad, can we have a fire outside? Can we have a fire outside? So we did. We had our first summer fire outside Friday night. And I was having a rough day and my kids could tell. So my kids, as I was just kind of explaining what's going on, without me having to prompt them at all, they went on this massive gratitude rant. Like for 3 straight minutes without me asking anything. They're like, Dad, I'm just so grateful that that Grandma and Grandpa are on the boat and they're healthy. I'm so grateful that tomorrow they're getting transferred onto the new boat. And and it was in the middle of all of the stuff that's going on. They didn't pretend that the challenges weren't real, but they found all these little nuggets of really meaningful things, of what reasons to be grateful. My friend who's going back to work in the ICU, he was really sick last week. They thought it was the coronavirus. It wasn't. And they're like, we're so grateful that Derek is getting better and can go back to work. And I'm just sitting there like, wow, you guys are just like teaching me a lesson right now. And I just sat there and soaked the whole thing in. And it really allowed me a space to start to shift and go, you know what? There's a lot of really crazy shit happening right now that all of us are experiencing. There we go. Now I'm back.
Again, anytime you say anything really important, you freeze. I think your computer has a block.
Yeah, I think so. But leave it to a bunch of kids to lead us adults into reminding us to do the things and the patterns and the actions that can really guide us through these tough times. And to find that place of grounding, like, okay, yeah, life is still good. Even in the middle of challenge, life is definitely still good. And it makes it so much easier to see the opportunity and to be present and to be kind and to be loving in the middle of when we need it the most.
I saw this weekend, as far as your friend going back to work and whatnot, all the photos of the nurses with the gear burns. Pretty, I think people didn't really get how hard it is on the front lines with this. And I think those photos really drive it home. Like, these people are working really hard to keep everybody healthy and they are suffering while we're being forced to stay home. And, we're pretty lucky to be on that end of it, even though we'd love to be on the front lines helping as much as we can. But they're going to battle for us. So that's pretty amazing.
Have you seen anything yet for dentists to be able to volunteer services to get involved more towards the front lines?
Not yet. There's starting to be requests for personal protective equipment, although some of the guidelines are saying keep your equipment so that if you have to see an emergency, you can help keep them out of the ER. So there's not really that yet. But I think if there's healthcare workers that get taken down, then there's going to be that option to go and help. But there's been doctors recalled to the field
Exactly.
who were retired and whatnot, and now they're being called back to help. So there is definitely a big need.
Well, I'm keeping my, like, in contact with the different contacts I have, and you do the same. And if we hear something, we'll definitely share it across this channel with everyone else.
For sure.
Because I think the people who are watching this are the weirdos like us who are looking to always, what can we do to make lemonade when there's lots of lemons all around us?
Yep. So this weekend, with what you were struggling with, what did you do to help move yourself through that, aside from the kiddos taking the lead?
That was the biggest thing, is that once I saw what they were doing with the gratitudes, I'm like, you know what, I can do the same, and I can look for all the reasons that life is still good right now, and look for the opportunities that are around. So for example, I spent the weekend and today I made a whole series of orthodontic DIY fix videos.
Okay.
That I'm going to start just making available to everybody. Because again, as an orthodontist, that's what I'm going to be dealing with. And most every orthodontic emergency is not emergency by the college guidelines. So to save, protect myself, to protect my team, to protect the patients, if I show them myself how to do, 90% of the stuff at home. There you go. Now I'm back.
We got to get that fixed. Seriously, dude.
I don't know. Because it works. And then for some reason it decides not to work. So I'm making these series of videos. I'm going to, not just for my patients, but I'm going to make available for everybody to say, hey, we're all in this together. These are some simple things we can do to take care of ourselves in the middle of all of this. So it gave me a little bit more space to, like, okay, let's take some action and do something. So I have something to focus on instead of just spinning my tires with everything else and running around after children.
I think we're built similarly that way, that sitting and just waiting for something to happen doesn't make us feel better about anything. If we can actually have a project to even just slightly distract us while we're trying to get through this, I think that works better. Much
better. But part of the template of what a lot of our conversation, and I can give a high level overview. There's 5 things I do every day to really begin putting my mind into the right spot. And I started these 5 things almost exactly 2 years ago to the day. My kids had lived with me. I'd become a full-time single parent, and I've been about a month into it, and I was just swamped. I was overwhelmed. I was burnt out. I was like, I'm not willing to stay like this. This is not a winning formula. I'm surviving, but I am not thriving. What am I going to do different?
Right.
And so I've worked for years with a bunch of different coaches who have programs of things that you do, plus my own layers of understanding of science and human physiology. I made my own little system of, like, okay, I'm a single parent. I don't have much time. How do I get maximum ROI? So I did 5 things. Every day I'd work out. Every day I would do a series of things around circadian rhythms and how I get my body optimized for performance. Every day I'd meditate. Every day I'd gratitude journal. And every day I would, I'm already forgetting the other one that I always do. It's just become so second nature. I forgot to talk about it. Oh, diet. Right. Sorry. Diet and supplement, which we started getting into with Dr. Lindsay last Friday. So it's, each of these things, we can go really deep into each of those 5 things. And that's what we're going to do over the next while. And as well as you and I just bullshitting back and forth, having a great time, and inviting everyone else to join the conversation too and ask questions. And then bringing in more people who are even way smarter than us to answer and take a lot further than you and I can take it.
For sure. Yeah, I spent my weekend in a tent. I needed to sound condense. So I had this pile of curtains, like my noise canceling curtains and blackout curtains on top of sheets, and then blankets inside of it to absorb as much sound as possible. So I could get recordings done this weekend for my full online program. So we got 1 full online program recorded this weekend. We completed 2 others that already had the PowerPoint overlays done and whatnot. So we're trucking forward with stuff that will be available for people to start studying with their teams and whatnot, which is pretty cool. So that'll keep people off the streets at night and, doing something to stimulate their brains so they don't circle down the drink.
Okay, so I'm a little bit curious. I know this is very tangential, but a sound tent?
A sound tent, yeah. Because even in a room that's fairly small, you can hear the sound bouncing off of hard surfaces.
Yeah.
So what I did was it took me a while to figure it out because at first it was like touching my head as I was trying to talk, and every time I like wiggled, I could hear it moving on my hair. It was driving me nuts. So you can't hear it on the video or on the mic, but I could hear it.
Yeah.
So I was distracted. So I'm like, okay. So I had like my two lights that are in front of me. I had those behind a chair pushed up against the wall to like stabilize them so that I could pin the first layer of the tent onto there and then drape things on top of it without having everything collapse on top of me. And then, my hearing is really sensitive. So even when I was talking, I could hear it bouncing off of like the computer screen and everything else. So eventually like there was only a little piece of my screen showing with my microphone and everything else was draped inside my little cozy tent.
Wow. So air ventilation, did it get like 300 degrees in there while you're trying to?
It got really hot, and like I had to turn off the heat because then you can hear that in the background as well, even if you go on like getting rid of the extra sounds around you. But the vent was right behind me. So when I'd like step out, I'm like, oh my gosh, the house is really cold. I turn on the heat, then I'd step back into it, and it was like stepping into a sauna. So trying to concentrate while you're hot and you can't drink water because you don't want to like gulp on the microphone either. It was a fun adventure. So I spent about 12 hours recording this weekend because I did 12 full lessons.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So you basically had a weekend in a sauna.
Pretty much. Yeah.
A sweaty, stinky sauna.
Yeah.
So when you watch your video content, we can have the backstory to know what's really happening when you're talking.
Yes. Well, it's funny because I've recorded, like when I built my first online program, I recorded it 4 different times because I wasn't happy. Like I'd listen to it and I'd be like, ugh, no, it's not quite right. Delete it, start again, reorder everything. So I've done this many, many times. So redoing it, I'm just like, oh, this is so much easier, like the 10th time around. And now my team is doing a lot of the, like before I did all the editing myself, all the PowerPoints, all the scripting, and now I know how to like make it so that they can take it over for me. So they're in the mode of building programs. So if anyone out there is looking to build an online program, my team is willing to help with that too, because they're so in the mode right now.
Yeah, they're totally in the zone.
Yeah, they totally are.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things in the middle of everything that's going on. Life is so abnormal.
Yeah.
To be working on, and I froze again.
Yes, you did.
Oh gosh. Okay, let's try that again. So in the middle of life is completely like different. It is so beyond normal. It's so abnormal that it's just like laughable right now. Mm-hmm. To do what you're doing is an example of find projects and double down on them to create some sense of new normal. Like, so for my kids, every single day they're spending an hour outside. Every single day they have to spend an hour doing reading. I have them doing projects that are, while I'm waiting for school to kick in, like they're literally doing research on different things. My son is doing the life of Henry Ford. My daughter is doing the 13 American colonies, pre-Confederate America. And then my son is researching the history of the Edmonton Oilers. And they're writing reports and the whole bit. So I'm creating some sort of new sense of normal. My girlfriend is literally working with her sister and sister-in-law to start this, like, and we're taking all of our family recipes of cooking and we're starting to turn it into like an Instagram kind of thing. Nice. Yeah. Like what else do we have to do right now but to eat food and with, you know, the supplies we have in our house and still make it yummy, because, you know, who wants to eat yucky food, and to make it healthy because we're all sitting around now. And so you can't be eating all the same kind of garbage that we could maybe get by when we're moving around and far more active. So like we're finding new ways of creating a new normal for where we're at. And if we can create those routines, all of our bodies begin to go, okay, this is starting to feel better. It's some new system, some new process. And this kind of goes a little bit the circadian rhythm thing a bit too.
We had a question from the audience here.
Yeah.
From Naja Matthews. So how do you help those that suffer with depression? They feel immobile and in a rut, just don't have the energy to feel like doing those 5 things. How do you deal with that? What are the tools to deal with that extreme issue? They can't just shut off the negativity around them.
One of my favorite researchers, again, I'm fully owning, I'm a geek, okay, is a guy named Martin Seligman. Martin Seligman is considered to be the father of positive psychology. He was the first guy who really brought a scientific application to the science of well-being. And he did it by studying the people who are doing well, and then taking the disciplines that people were doing well with, actually calling them disciplines just because they're doing it, and beginning to repackage them and repurpose them for people who were struggling with well-being. Two things. First of all, gratitude journaling is just a simple thing of gratitude journaling is as effective as antidepressants, which is really fascinating. But what was even better than antidepressants is that the rate of relapse was about 2 times less.
Interesting.
The other thing he found to be the most effective is he would start asking. So people know that when you're depressed, that there's that sense of just you want to hunker down, you don't want to go out, you don't find the energy to go out, and that's probably the most challenging part of depression, is getting the energy and the motivation to get back out and resume normal life. And work through and come to the side of being depressed. So what he did is he asked them to start journaling. What would you do if you were having the energy to go back out and resume life? Don't go do it. Please, by all means, do not do it, because you're in a tough spot right now, but just write about it. What you might do if you were feeling better.
Right.
And if you simply started writing these things down, what he found was after about 4 to 6 weeks, that people were finding the energy again to be able to move forward and do it without having any outside pressure put on themselves. Just the thinking about it gave them enough the space to be able to move forward.
One of my acupuncturists that I dealt with when I was going through losing my career and trying to deal with chronic pain and whatnot, one of her suggestions, which was actually one of the biggest mind shifts for me with depression, was she said, if you can just realize that like this is just part of who you are and not be fearful of it, that's one of the things that actually shifted it the most. Because I'd be like stressed out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going down the drink. I'm worried that I'm going to take other people down with me. And once she said, like, just accept it and know that it's there and it's just part of how you're made up, that actually was a huge shift for me as well. Because I found I'd go down faster the more stressed I was about it, of course. And then you're putting more focus on it and you keep circling back to that. But if you can get out of that and just be like, no, it's there. We know it's there and we know it's part of it. But I'm still going to try to move on with the rest of my life, even though I'm not feeling awesome right now. That was actually a huge benefit as well.
Yeah. The problem is not the problem. When you think you have a problem, it becomes much more concrete. When you give yourself something else to think about, it's just another way of creating some space. We have such a stigma around depression that it's this big, bad, scary problem. And while it certainly feels that way when you're in it, your technique is so powerful because it removes the demonizing of that problem.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, so that's just life and we can still carry on anyway.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that was honestly, that shift. Yeah. When I learned that shifted so much stuff for me. So, but it's not easy. Like when you're in that state and you just want to hide from the world and just dig in deep and, hide in a little tent.
Literally. A sweaty little tent.
Little tent.
For a whole weekend. Talking to yourself.
Truly. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, if my neighbors could hear me right now, they would totally be thinking I'm insane. But they'd learn something while I was talking to myself about my program. They would have become really good at social media this weekend.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So what are your big products this week?
Am I back now? I
Yeah,
think I'm
you're back.
So I don't know who asked that question, but if they're still watching, does that begin to answer the question? Is there any follow-up additional thoughts or dialogue to continue around there?
There was not.
Okay.
I'm just going to update it right now and just see if anything else comes up. And it's taking forever to load.
Because of course we're curious and we want to be responsive. It's like everything freezes at the moment something important happens.
It totally does. This live broadcasting thing is cool, but sometimes it's a little bit tricky. So yeah, it's still not coming back up. So let's carry on until we see something come differently. So with what you were trying to move through yourself from last week and over the weekend, is that still residual this week that you're trying to move through it, or are you moving on to different thing now?
It's still there. I don't think it's like you said, if you use depression as an example, like this isn't depression, but it's the same kind of thing. It's depression is really like the mind getting stuck on something Either whatever it is that we get stuck on. Anxiety is kind of similar too. Yeah, it's still there. So just like you talked about with your thing, to try to pretend it's not there is actually going to make it more likely to be there. So I'm still acknowledging there's a lot going on right now. I'm still concerned about my parents, for sure. I'm still concerned about my friend. I'm concerned about all of my colleagues who are at higher levels of risk. I'm concerned about my kids. It bothers me that they don't get to have time with their friends. It's tough to be at home, like in a little 1,200 square foot home with 5 people in it. But so I can't pretend that those things aren't real, and I can't pretend that that's not actually happening. But to continue to focus on the things that I can do that are within my power. I can work on these videos. I can gratitude journal. I can get proper amounts of sleep. Even over the weekend, what really helped too is my girlfriend and I, we made like a little date night last night, even after the kids went to bed.
Nice.
And we made some really yummy food. And so one of the other things I've done, I should even bring it on at some point, is I love plants. I know that sounds really funny, but I really like plants and gardening. And I have an undergrad degree in botany of all things, in forest ecology. Yeah. I come from this very long line of families that love to grow things. So I've got this little herb garden that I keep in my living room. And I made like this homemade, really yummy salad out of some of the things that I'd grown. It was like some farmer's market tomatoes, and I have my own fresh basil, and put the balsamic and the olive oil, and damn, it was so.
And of course you froze.
Of course. Where did I quit?
I'm sure it was so damn good.
Really? It stopped there?
Yeah. Stopped at so good.
So did I get through like the little homemade salad that I made?
Yes, you got through the homemade salad. It was just your ending commentary that disappeared. So
I got through the bottle of wine and the fire and.
Yeah, no, we didn't catch that part at all.
Okay. Well, it was a so damn good salad with creating a great environment. Put the kids to bed and still did adult things.
Yeah. Nice. That's something I wonder about, like with the parents who are stuck at home, like, or they get to be at home, let's say it that way.
Yeah.
And they don't have another adult to have contact with, especially if they're in quarantine or whatnot, I can imagine that's a challenge. Like I'm here stuck by myself with my hamster and we have great conversations. But yesterday I got to like go outside and like stay 6 feet away from my neighbor. She was like, "Do you want to go for a walk?" I'm like, "Yes, please. I would really like to talk to a human live and not through a screen or a camera like this."
Smart.
And, so it's actually kind of lovely. And yeah, she almost fell, and I'm like, I can't even like grab you because I need to stay 6 feet away. So it was a little adventure that we had, but it was nice. Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful outside. So it was good to do that and get a little bit of a reset. And then the snow came last night. So
last night the snow came. I live in an older neighborhood where I got big trees. So I got this big picture window in the front of my old house. And it felt like I was in the forest watching the snow come down and with my fireplace on. And I've just come to decide that we think that this is like winter coming back, but I just look at this is what spring in Alberta looks like.
Yeah.
Because it's moist and it's humid and you can feel that summer is beginning to come. And there's a certain elegance in it. It felt kind of like I was on the West Coast.
I don't think I don't think summer's coming yet. Maybe spring. Spring and winter are having a little battle right now as to who's going to win. So
I loved it. I really loved it. And seeing the snow, and because it's not going to last much longer.
Mm-hmm.
And if I see this kind of snow, because it's a different kind of snow than it was January and blizzarding and blowing. It's a different kind of snow. So like this is what spring in Alberta looks like. So I'm like, yay, spring. Yes.
Yeah. Our previous comment came back with another question here.
Perfect.
So being inside due to depression, then being forced to stay inside are two different things. When one is ready to get out and feel better, yet they can't now, it's a difficult spot to be in, which is totally true.
I agree.
One thing I did this weekend, just because I had work to do, but I was like, oh, I need to enjoy like the fresh air, is just like opening all the windows and letting it just blow through. And it just feels like there's different energy blowing through the house versus staying cooped up with all the air from the winter that's been recycled over and over again every day. And
yep, I did the same thing.
Oh, Michael.
I'm just saying I agree. I did the same thing last night. I had my fire going, so it was like really warm in my living room, and then I opened the door and let all kinds of nice air come in while I had the fireplace going.
Mm-hmm.
I like your ideas, is I guess what I'm saying.
There you go. So, who else are we bringing on the show this week? We've got Dr. Lindsay Irwin coming back to talk on Friday. What else do we have lined up?
We have, do we have anything else set in stone as of yet?
No, but we were talking about a few different specialists that we wanted to bring on. So did you make any progress with that?
What were the other topics? Actually, we can even compare notes right now. I could bring on a personal trainer if we want to talk about fitness. I know that's kind of your cup of tea as well. So I don't know if you want to bring that one on or not.
Might as well share the wealth. If we can bring them, I think that'd be good.
We can bring on, sleep is my total cup of tea, but I can bring on a sleep specialist as well. And we can talk about some circadian rhythm things and creating rhythms in life. And some real pitfalls to avoid, I think, is another big one. Not just the actions to do, but the things that attempt to avoid. Actually, let's throw it out to our viewers and say, what other kinds of things would they be looking for inside of this spectrum of wellness? And if we see some really great suggestions, then we can reach out to our networks and bring in more too.
I think psychologists should be on our list as well, just for some tips on dealing with being stuck inside. And not everyone is necessarily going down the rabbit hole right now, but we know that if this carries on for a long time and we're going to have to keep social distancing, there's going to be some tools that we're going to need in order to help deal with that. So
I've got a friend who is a combined mindset coach and a clinical psychologist.
Perfect.
So that could be a really good one to bring in.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. So let's try and get those people on this week and next. And what we're thinking is maybe we theme the days. And so each day of the week has a theme, and we keep bringing on those guests or guests in that genre of expertise that will help to keep moving everyone forward through all this that we're going through.
Well, that works really nice. We got 5 different disciplines and 5 different days in the week.
Exactly. And we just get to ask them questions, which is even more fun. So.
Just put people on the spot nonstop.
Yeah, no, it's totally fun. Love doing that. So, is there anything you want to add today before we head out?
I think the only thing I want to make sure I'm really hitting on is that practice of gratitude. Whether you're going to sit down with your kids, with your partner, with a friend over a Zoom call or a FaceTime, or sitting with your own journal, to be really intentional, specific about creating a daily practice of gratitude where you're stopping and noticing the things that are really worth doing. And bonus points if you shift from just like an idea, like I'm so grateful for my family, and shift it to talking about an experience, something that you enjoyed. And I've done this one, and I find it's really powerful. It's the simple things like the way my skin felt when the warm sun shone on it. Because who doesn't like that? Oh, it feels so good, especially right now as we're slowly coming back into having light. These are the things, if you write down 3 things or share 3 things with someone every day, get on a Zoom call with someone and share it. Talk with your kids, write it down your own journal, but to be really specific about the things that are happening around us that are good. That would be my take-home message for today.
Okay. Maybe we should start the show with the 3 things we're each grateful for. And you're frozen.
I love it. There, I'm saying it again. This I'm not frozen.
Oh my gosh. So frustrating, but so funny.
I almost can't fix it. This is going to become kind of part of our running joke for the next little while, is that all of us are online, so the bandwidth is so compressed right now that we can't even get a live stream to function proper.
When I'm talking, you don't freeze. It's only when you start talking that you freeze, which is the weird part. But regardless. Okay, well, I say we wrap it up there, and we'll let you know who we have coming on during the week when we do our little announcements of the broadcast, and we'll start to have those themes developing so that you have all the expertise surrounding you in the world to answer the questions that are burning in your minds out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful.
Good seeing you again, Angela.
Yeah, you too, and we'll chat again soon. Bye.
Cheers.